Alrighty, hello everybody. Today I want to do something a little bit differently and just do a real quick video to break down and showcase the different types of way to play support in Smite 2, as well as give you some item options to go on them right now. Now, obviously, there's going to be more supports added in the future and maybe even some more types of supports, but for right now, I think this is a great place to start. You know, there's a lot of different ways to play the game, and you might get flamed for trying some stuff out, and I don't want you new support players to feel like that. I don't want you to feel bad. I want you to have fun, experiment, try new things. So hopefully you can use this video as that starting point, and then from there, go to branch out and find your own supports and pick the characters that you think fits your play style better. Because, you know, sometimes you may love support, sometimes you may get forced into support, but that doesn't matter. You should still have a good god pool to play support well. You know, no matter what your play style is, there's always a way to play it that works for you. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first up, I want to talk about healer supports. So these characters, their designated role in a team fight is to heal your team. That's more than anything what you should be focusing on. Doesn't matter. Damage doesn't matter. CC doesn't super matter. I mean, it matters, but that's not your focus. Your focus needs to be on healing your teammates and healing them well. And what I mean by that is knowing when to use that heal. Do you use it before the fight? Do you use it after the fight? Like, when is the best time to use it? Now, characters on this list include, but they're not limited to, Ra with Aspect, Aphrodite, Cupid with Aspect, even like Apollo with Aspect, and, you know, with that arrow spell. Guan Yu, definitely, because he has a lot of heal spam in him right now. But again, it's not limited to that. It's just those are the main ones right now. Now, on a character like Ra, if you look at his kit, you have a damage slow. This is your heal, but damage and then damage. There's no real oomph there like you might see in other games. Smite is a little different when it comes to healing than other games like Valorant or Overwatch or even League of Legends, right? Because the healers in those games, their main focus, like I said, is going to be healing, but that's entirely what their kit is based around. Smite has never really had that. All of the healers do something else like damage, because Smite really emphasizes the ability to do damage and clear and all that stuff. You know, in other games, you're not really needing to worry about that. So in Smite, healers are in a place where they're either really good and overly strong, or they're kind of okay. Now, you'll have characters that do other things than just healing, like Aphrodite, for instance. She has a lot of peel. But on a character like Ra, where your only supportness here is healing, there's usually something else with it. And if we look at Ra here, his 3 has a buff to it. And that's really important. And that's why if you go him support, you need to go the Aspect, because what you can do, since your 3 will stick to whoever you put it on, and not only does it heal them, but it gives them, they're getting physical protection, magical protection, and damage as well. They're getting a damage bonus. So if I put it on this Ymir here, you can see he's kind of low. It's healing him per tick, but he's also getting this circle that will follow him. It'll stick to him, and it's granting him protections as well as extra power. So you can use this to, you know, buff your carries. You could use it to buff your tanks. You could put it before they go in for that extra protection bonus, or you could use it when they're trying to leave for that extra protection bonus to save them. That's, again, why it matters when you do it. Now, Ra doesn't just have that. Of course, he also has his ult, which heals for quite a lot. It goes up to 800. And then, of course, you have items like Rod of Asclepius that increase your healing done. Now, if you're playing a healer, like a designated healer, Rod of Asclepius needs to be in your build somewhere, because the enemy team is going to get anti-heal, and then you're useless. That's just the way it works. Rod of Asclepius, what it does is its base passive increases all healing done by 15%, and its active makes it so any anti-heal that is applied to you gets removed, and it prevents anti-heal for 3 seconds. So what that means, now when we heal him, he'll be healed for 15% more, and if there's an enemy that's applying anti-heal, it's going to completely ignore that and give him that full heal. And you can see, you know, per tick you're healing for 9, which isn't crazy on Ra. I mean, like, that's 9 is pretty negligible, but the ult is where it really makes a difference. And this is on a really short cooldown already. So if you're playing a healer, you need to get Rod of Asclepius. It's just that simple, and that's what you're going to do. And that's healers. All right, next up we have Backline Peel supports. These supports are your tried and true classic Smite supports. This is what you're going to see most of the time, probably what you've been used to when you think of a support in Smite. These are tankier characters typically that their main focus is to protect the hyper carries of the team. Now, this is going to be your mid lane mage or your ADC. Sometimes your jungler, very rarely your solo laner, but usually your ADC or your mage. What I mean by that, when you hear the term backline peel, what that means literally is you're peeling the enemy off of your teammate. So for instance, let's say this Ymir was attacking this Ymir. What your entire job is going to be as a backline peel support is to save his life at any cost. It doesn't matter if you die. All that matters is that he gets out and he's able to pump damage number. So you're body blocking hits for him. You're using your abilities to protect him. You know, on Geb, you have a shield, you have a knock up, you have an ult that stuns, you have a slow that can also be another knock up. Your entire purpose is to make sure he stays alive. Now, when you position in team fights, that doesn't mean you're sitting behind him. That doesn't mean you're sitting in the front. Where you should be positioning is right around, generally in front of him, so you can body block, but also a little bit to the side too sometimes, so that way you can like step to the side if you need to protect somebody else. But generally speaking, that's where you want to be. Now, characters that fit this backline peel category are characters like a Geb, you have a Khepri, you have characters like Aphrodite. She's also a healer, but she fits that pretty well. He's not out yet, but Sylvanas is a great one. And people like that. Characters that have one form of instant CC, like bam, you're CC. Like for instance, Geb knock up, bam, you're knocked up. Or they have an instant bam, you're saved ability. For Khepri, that'd be ult. For Geb, that's his shield. For those of you that don't know, Geb's shield cleanses all CC that's applied to them and gives them a really good shield. And it also applies as passive, which makes it so they can't take extra damage and they get lower critical strike damage to them. So it's really good. But again, I cannot stress this enough. Your entire focus as a backline peel support needs to be, how do I keep this person alive? Now, who that person in depends entirely on who you're playing with and how well they're playing. If it's your friend, generally speaking, you're going to want to keep them alive, but you need to know when you need to look at the other teammates on your team. Because I know when you're duo queued, you're going to want to keep that person alive because they're your buddy. You're usually your ADC, right? If you're queuing together. But there's going to be times when you have to just say, look, I cannot keep you alive. I can, but I need to focus on our mid laner because they are just doing so well. Like if your mid laner is 11-0, go over to mid. Don't steal their farm because you want them to be ahead, but just do whatever you can to keep them alive. Now, if you notice with characters like Geb, they do have really good engage, right? They have that knock up, that ult, and they can be played as engaged characters, but that's not your focus. You pick a character like Geb when your team already has good engage and you can go that backline peel. Now, again, if you want to play an aggressive engage support, you can. That's what we're going to cover next. But I'm saying for this version of support, backline peel, your entire focus just needs to be, how do I keep this guy alive? You're not chasing kills. You're not doing any of that. You are just keeping this guy alive at any cost, even at your own life. And with that said, let's talk about some items you might want to go into backline peel support. So this is going to be the least selfish play style you're going to see in terms of building. Now, there's no aura prots in Smite anymore, but you're going to want items like Talisman of Purification. This applies a CC cleanse to your entire team, basically gives your entire team beats. This is very good. Item like that. You have Screeching Gargoyle that silences enemy gods. That's pretty good. Angela does the same thing. It's really good, but this is on ability hit. Shoguns, this buffs your allies' attack speed. Stuff like that. You want your own protection too, but you want items like that that help keep your team alive. You know, an Amanita Charm is not a bad choice. Spectral is okay because it lowers enemy crit chance. It's not very good right now, but it's still there. Pharaoh's Curse slows enemy attack speed and stuff like that. So that's the items you're going to be looking for when you're playing a backline peel support. Now that we've talked about that, let's go ahead and move on to engage or aggro supports. All right, and now it's time to talk about probably my favorite version of support in Smite 2, and this is your frontline engage support. These are your frontline tanks that are sitting in the front of the team when the teamfight happenings, and they're looking to dive the enemy team to make stuff happen. Also, sometimes called the playmakers, right? These are characters that can go in and get out safely while still doing things to help your team. Now, you're not trying necessarily to get kills. You're trying to allow the opportunity for your teammates to get kills. And great characters like that are Bacchus, Cerberus, Ares, just off the top of my head. You know, there's other ones that are coming out, but just right now, those are the 3 in Smite 2 that I can really think of. Bracken, that's another great one. But these characters, generally speaking, your main focus is going to be going into the enemy team, starting the fight, applying CC, setting up for your teammates, right? Like on a Bacchus specifically, your goal is to pop your 1, jump in, knock as many people as possible, get that auto, stun them, ult them, do as much as you can, so that way your teammates can come in and clean up and kill them. Now, you're not going in by yourself. You have a team with you typically when this happens. But again, I cannot stress this enough. Your job is to go in and get shit done for your team. And that's why I love this version of support. This is the one that gives you the most agency in a game. This is the one that lets you technically carry games as support, which is a phrase that a lot of people love to say because it's kind of possible, but not really unless you're playing a support like this. Now, items that are very good on characters like this are Cersei's Hexstone. This gives you a free beads, but also a way to engage safely, saving your escapability. You know, definitely some anti-heal because you're going into the enemy team. Some other tank items that keep you alive, you know, like Draconic Scale, maybe a Mantle of Discord, Spirit Robe, stuff like that. Things that keep you alive so you can do things. While also sometimes supporting your team as well, like erosion, you know, because again, you are support. You're not building like a soul laner. You're building things that help you. And again, don't build in this order. I'm just giving you items. But generally speaking, you're building items that let you go in and do what you want to do. So these are some good choices for that. I said this already, but I'm going to say it again. Your main focus needs to be just go in, you know, do your combos, set up for your team. If you have no Willix and you're playing Bacchus, you need to be jumping on cooldown to try to get your Willix and ult. Now, one thing that is important to know as an engaged support is when not to go in, but also who to go in on. It's a lot of people when they try playing this for the first time, they just go in on everybody all the time. And that's not what you want to do. You want to hold your abilities, not too long, but for the right moments and for the right people. Typically speaking, you don't want to jump in on the enemy support. You want to jump in on the enemy carry or enemy mid laner. You know, the thing that the backline support is supposed to be protecting you. Or protecting. You want to jump in on them so they can't provide that damage to your team. And that's how you support them. You support them by A, disrupting the enemy, and B, allowing your team to make a play off of that. So, right, let's pretend this is their support, and then we have a Kukulkan in the back and an Odin up here. So they have 2 engaged supports, and they have 2 backliners. So they don't really have any peel, because Ymir, he can be a peel, but he is more of a zone control / engage. So your goal here is to just ignore the Ymir and Bacchus and try to get on those backline boys like this. This is how you do that team fight. And now, you know, they're not going to get that low from just you in a normal game with normal items, but you can see here, you're doing a lot of damage. Most engaged frontline tanks are going to do damage, but you're not trying to confirm that kill. Your teammates, let them get the kill, and only if they can't, then that's when you're like, okay, this is mine, and I need to just be the one to do it. Because you need to hold your abilities for when you can use them again to then, after the backliners are, then focus on the tanks and help your team kill those guys as well. And that's the frontline tank engage support. Next up, we are talking about zone control supports. All right, now we have zone control supports. These supports can, again, do other things, but your primary focus in a team fight is locking the enemy in one space to allow your teammates to provide reliable damage. Now, typically you're playing these characters with, you know, characters on your team that have high damage abilities that cover either large or small amounts of areas. So like a Kukulkan ult, a Vulcan is a great example, even a Zeus or Poseidon. You want to keep the enemies in a tight space or in a controlled space that you created to make sure your teammates can get those abilities off properly. So Yemoja is a perfect example for this. Other characters that fall under this category are Ymir, Odin even, Ares, people that can just heavily control a zone and just say, hey, you are not allowed to leave, you are staying here. So with Yemoja, your typical play style is, let's say, you know, you use your brain to pretend there's like this is the fire giant pit, like, right, that's the fire giant, this is the fire giant pit. Your job is to keep the enemies here so that way your teammates can hit that Vulcan ult or that Kukulkan ult reliably and get that damage off, because that's going to be like a 1500 damage ultimate that hits them, and that's going to just knock them out of the fight immediately. So the way to do that is with your control abilities. Now Yemoja has a lot of those. You know, she has a stun, she has a knockback, or a knock forward. And she, of course, has her giant ultimate that creates multiple sets of walls that refills your mana, and you can just go like that and get some portals back up and do what you gotta do. But your entire purpose of playing support like this is to just pick an area that you think your team can fight in and communicate with your team. You need to communicate well with your team. So I don't generally recommend picking these in ranked. If you're solo queuing, if you do, make sure you're playing with like a mid laner or a jungler that has a big AoE or a very high damage ultimate. So that way you can actually get value out of this. But what you're going to do is pick an area like, hey guys, we want to fight here. We want to fight here. I'm an ult. Then you pop your ult down, force everyone you can in, make sure they can't leave. You're pumping out decent bits of damage usually. You're keeping them locked down. You're allowing your team to do the damage with you, which is generally speaking very good. Now, some items that go along really well with this general type of support playstyle are going to be some more cooldown focused items like Chronos Pendant. Generally speaking, is if you want to get a little bit more damage, that's good. Ferreira's Tears for that cooldown, Breastplate for that cooldown is really good. An item that I really like that I think is super slept on right now, Scepter of Dominion. This does that job completely. You put it down, they're stuck there for like 2 seconds. Right? You're not able to damage them, but they're also not able to damage you. That's perfect setup for your team. You pop that down, you wait for your team to get close. That's a guaranteed kill. If you are able to communicate well with your team and use it properly, this item is phenomenal for team play. Now, again, I wouldn't recommend this all the time. It's really just on these specific types of characters for specific situations. And it's really good on the zone control characters because it just adds to that extra. It's adding to the role that they're already performing. So it's really good. You can also use this to stop them from doing a fire giant and then allow you to get the secure, which is really nice. But yeah, you see, you can't damage them in here. The only reason you're doing that is to keep them there so they can't leave, and it allows your teammates time. It gives them time to either get away, gives them time to get their cooldowns back and go back in. It's just time. As a zone control support, your whole thing is time and space. You're kind of like Doctor Who if you think about it in that way. But your whole shtick is, I'm going to keep you here, and I'm going to either waste your time or I'm going to give my team time to kill you. And that's the zone control support playstyle. All right, now we have utility supports. And I'm playing Apollo Aspect for this specifically because he's, I think, the best example in Smite 2 right now. Smite 1 has some other examples that I think are better than Apollo Aspect. Do not get me wrong, they're just not in the game yet. Now, utility support, your whole playstyle is very similar to Backline Peel, but also a mix of healer. Your focus is to find the best player on your team and do whatever you can to help them. You're not necessarily keeping them alive. You are going to keep them alive by doing this, but your main focus is to make them stronger. And the reason why I'm going to Paul is because his aspect helps a lot with that. You know, you're giving your team lots of attack speed with your one, but you're also giving them protections, you're giving them a shield, you're doing a lot of things to help them out. That is your focus. Now, other characters on this list that are in Smite 2 right now are, you have Yamoja, you also have Ares. He's really good for boosting up the team's damage, Baron Samedi, and even Aphrodite. Aphrodite is another very big utility support. These supports, their main focus, if you're playing this way, is simply put to buff your teammates and debuff the enemies. There's not a lot of them in Smite as a whole. Other MOBAs have them beat in this area by far, but the ones that are in Smite are very good because they also do a decent bit of damage too. So again, your primarily role in a team fight is to look at the enemies and look at your teammates and just make your teammates as strong as hell. That's why you're going items like Warflag, give them attack speed. You're getting items like Shogun's, Triton's Conch, things that are letting your teammates do more. Void Shield, Void Stone to let them do more damage. Not in that order necessarily, but stuff like that, right? Your goal, and again, not all these items at the same time, not in this order. These are just the general items you'd want to go. Your goal is to just help your team by giving them the tools they need to be better. You're giving them attack speed, you're giving them power, you're removing the enemy team's protections to let your teammates do more damage. And it's very simple. Utility support, when you think about it, is just, here's a buff, here's a this, here's a that. And that's the way you're typically playing this support playstyle. This one's pretty short. So the next one, the real last section here that we're going on to, is aggressive / kill focused supports. All right, and now lastly, we have the aggressive kill focused supports. These are supports like Hunbats, Fenrir, the assassin supports. You know, even like Ares is a good example. Jormungandr and Smite 1 is a decent example. These supports, their entire focus is to kill the enemy team. And another one I missed is Hecate. Hecate is a great example for this because she's doing lots of damage. You're not really playing like a tank. You're ultimately playing as a second jungler. You're invading the enemy's camps on cooldown. You're trying to find picks when you can. Your whole play style is basically you didn't get jungler, but you wanted jungler, but you also want to be a bit tanky. So generally speaking, I don't recommend this all the time. It's only if you're like in low elo and you really want to win, or maybe you're on a loss streak and you're just kind of pissed off. This is what you're going to do. Generally speaking, you're going selflessness every time, and then you're getting full damage with 1 or 2 defense items, right? So like on Hunbats, you'd get like a Hydras, a Jotuns, Brawlers for the anti-heal, maybe even a Crusher or Heartseeker, and then you're going to get like a defense item or 2 just to keep you alive. And again, not in this order. And if you're magical, it's going to be other, like if you're in focus, sorry, not magical. If you're in focus, you're going to get like a Chronos Pendant and some of those items like more cooldown related. But your entire focus is to just go in, get a kill, invade on cooldown, and get out, right? Like you're invading the enemy's back camps. You're doing the damage, you're taking them. So that way your jungler is not being put behind, but you're putting the enemy behind, right? The enemy team is losing valuable farm and you're gaining farm. And then what you're able to do with that, because you have a lead, is you're able to actually go in and play like a normal jungler and just go in and kill everybody. Now, again, most scenarios, it's not going to work really as well as that. That's just what you're going to have to try to play like, right? You're going to look and say, who can I kill this team fight? Who is the one person I can pick off to give my team the better chance of winning, right? And you're going to look at that person and say, if I kill this guy right here, this one right here, if I kill him, there's a great chance my team can win the game. So your entire focus in life, similar to the engage frontline tank, is going to be to dive. But this time you're not necessarily planning on getting out. You're just going to plan on doing as much as you can to damage and try to kill them. So you're going in, you're full kit dumping this one person to try to just remove them from the fight. And then if you get another pick, that's great. But your main focus is to find the one person on the enemy team and just remove them from the equation. So just to show you one more time, like again, if I have a team here, right? Let's say this Loki has been the bane of my team's existence the whole game. My focus is going to be to go on him and only him. And then if I get another pick, that's great, but that's not what we're really going for. We're going on just him. And then everybody else if we can. And that's it. So, in a nutshell, those have been all the different ways to play support right now. I've broken them all down into categories that I think will help you understand it better. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I will see you guys all later. Peace out.